ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Porters, and joining me today, his safe word is Tom Bombadil, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Cowabunga, y'all.
And he knows you've got to pay the toll to see the Snow Troll toll, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and my feet might be furry, but I ain't no hobbit.
No, sirree, Bob. But he comes up about the right height, though. That's all that matters.
Ouch.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking about the Rings of Power this week because we've decided to do more of a fantasy month here in the month of September over at HMP, and we're like, okay, we did a little Sandman, getting into the dream fantasy stuff. Now we're going to go into the proper fantasy of we'll call it Tolkien adjacent, perhaps. We'll get into all those specifics.
We call it high fantasy.
High fantasy. Oh
yeah. We're going from I don't know. I would call Sandman not quite urban fantasy, but a little bit more contemporary.
Urban lit fantasy.
Yeah. Now we're going to high fantasy.
Now we're going to high fantasy.
Next week will be Grimdark. I know all these fantasy genera.
Hey, listen, this is a family show, and I would prefer that you keep it that way. So don't say words like that. All right, we're going to talk about all of that kind of good stuff in just a few minutes. But before
what's the name? What's the name of this though? What's the name of this month for us?
We had
it's
one.
Fall Fantasy Festival or Fall Fantasy Fest, something like that.
That's right.
Fall Fantasy
Fantasy Festival.
So we got all
the
that
Fall Fantasy Festival.
It is Ren Fair season, my friends.
Oh, right.
Oh, man. Get yourself a turkey leg, everybody. We're going to have a good time today. But before we do that, we do want to say a thank you to those who support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those people get the pre-show, the post-show, the Dinger Zone. And, of course, this week in the Dinger Zone, we're talking about all the D23 news and all that kind of fun stuff over there. A lot of cool things. Check it out. And you can support us over there like Corey has. Corey K has come over at the $5 level. Corey, Sean, let's hook Corey up with an HMP nickname.
All right, so Corey K is our newest Patreon member and doing some, quote, research, end quote, while I was waiting on my dog at the, quote, vet, end quote. I found that there's a really awesome Corey, and even though it's her last name, so sorry, Corey K, but it is spelt the same way as you, the C-O-R-I. So even though it's her last name, her name is Gertie Corey, and in 1947, she won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. She was a professor of biochemistry at Washington University when she won for her discovery of the course of catalytic conversion of glycosine.
Wow.
Now, these are all words that I know, but I don't know these words together. Yeah. I don't know what they mean when you put them together. Now, Professor Corey was born in Prague in 1896, moved to Buffalo, New York in 1922 with her husband. And as you might imagine, it wasn't super easy in her field in 1922.
What?
After she won the Nobel Prize, she turned to her colleagues and said the following: "You can all chug it." Then she flipped them double birds and walked off stage backwards.
Most exciting Nobel ceremony ever until the Goy bomb guy showed up.
Yeah.
She eventually passed away in 1957 in St. Louis, Missouri, and she will forever be known as the first American woman to win the Nobel Prize. So that is not a bad Corey to be. And that's why from now on at HMP, Corey, you shall be known as the biochemist. Congratulations. You're the newest member of HMP, and thank you.
The biochemist. We are good to go. And if you would like to be like Corey and all the other fine people, support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Remember, there's tons of shows that will give you ads all throughout their shows, boring you with crap, making you reach for that jump button. You're not doing that here with HMP. And all of it just kind of goes back to you guys. All right, let's get into it.
You guys know what they, real quickly, you guys know what they call somebody who wins a Nobel Prize?
A laureate?
A laureate, right?
Yes, that's an awesome, I think more awards need to get you qualified to be called a laureate. Just personally, I want to be a laureate before I die.
Ooh, that's our new award show, the Laureates. We've got dancers, the Laureate dancers.
Oh, Lori and the Laureates. That's my new hip hop squad.
Ooh, not too bad. All right, let's get into it. Here's the trailer for The Rings of Power.
My brother gave his life hunting the enemy. His task is now mine.
Speak your truth. We already know.
Stand with me. Ours was no chance meeting.
Search your mind.
Not fate,
It's written in gold.
nor destiny. Ours was the work of something greater.
Don't say no. Let it unfold out. And we'll take the red waves and feel it's gone.
Each of us,
All I know
every one,
is an ocean of
must decide who
cutting off faith.
we shall be.
Still your mind.
I am not the hero you seek.
There's oceans below.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
One day this will be your kingdom.
Raise your sail and then let go.
Choose not the path of fear, but that of faith.
One thing we can do, better than any creature in all Middle Earth, we stay true to each other with our hearts even bigger than our feet.
We can survive this. You and I.
Commander! Wait!
No, we keep moving.
Why do you keep fighting?
There is a tempest in me.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Rings of Power. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do we got?
Almost everyone has to know about the big four books Tolkien wrote in the Middle-earth universe. There's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, which was written as a single novel and not a trilogy, but the publisher said it was too long and broke it up into 3 pieces. But Amazon doesn't have the rights to those books. And a lot of people also know about The Silmarillion, a novel that was not originally written to be part of the Lord of the Rings world, but was later kind of edited to occur in that literary universe. But Amazon doesn't have the rights to that book either. Now, much less well-known, but equally important to Tolkien scholars are Unfinished Tales, The History of Middle-earth, The Children of Hurin, The Fall of Numenor, Bilbo's Last Song, and The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, among others. Now, of course, Amazon doesn't have the rights to any of those either. So what exactly does Amazon have the rights to? The appendices. Yes, Amazon paid $250 million for the rights to appendices. And that's crazy because Jeff Bezos has to work for almost 2 hours to earn that much money. But it might not be all bad because you got to admit, never in the history of ever has someone said, that show's pretty good, but the appendix was better. Now, let's be honest here. Nobody cares about appendices. Even our own human body doesn't give a squat about its appendix. If you fall on hard times, you can always sell a kidney, but ain't nobody wants to buy your appendix. Heck, if your appendix gets inflamed, the doctor just cuts it off and throws it away. They don't do that with any other part of your body, do they? I mean, if you get bursitis, they wouldn't just cut off your knee and send you home. I guess they do that with tonsils if you get tonsillitis, but we're here to talk about appendices. Nobody's ever spent 3 years on a transplant list waiting for a new appendix. And there's no clickbait articles on social media about 3 simple steps to a sexier appendix. But Amazon thought it was the appendix, and time that the appendix got its due. It's time for the appendix to be the new novel. A list of things that happened are now the new story, and the time of being nothing more than a useless intestine finger is over. And speaking of intestine fingers, Adam, do you have a list?
Oh, yeah. If that comic connection wasn't enough, let me tell everybody on this new Tolkien, non-Tolkien show, because this sucker's got everything. We got Galadriel voiceover, beautiful landscapes, a-hole kids, Lady Frodo and Sam, Elrod Hubbard. You see what I'm saying? Okay, anyway. An elf with the best fade in Middle-earth. An elf what looked like Dennis Leary. A giant naked man who looks kind of like a young yet old Harrison Ford falling from the sky. A Middle-earth battle that ends far too too quick, a helmet pile, a dope Saruman cameo, sappy poetry about nature that Tolkien would probably have loved, a snow troll, a title card 17 minutes into episode 1, antler backpacks, cute small wreathed crowns, old wooden statues lit with an airy sky panel. You can't fool me. Chocolate milk cow, fire in the sky. This was one of my best ones. Is we get a no wizard, no way, no how kind of thing going on. We got Dwarfland, screaming, swimming with knives, dwarf wife, ice wall climbing, tunnel crawling, storm at sea on driftwood, ice boulder throwing, skull stabbing, sword drawing, boat sailing, horn blowing, rock smashing, tunnel crawling, and the best line of the 2 episodes, I've seen it already, I've said it already 100 times over in every way but words. This show's got everything.
Nice.
Except for any characters that you mostly you remember. Say for
Everyone
one, I
knows
guess.
Elrond and Galadriel.
There's two. So I don't know. I had zero expectations going into this. I don't know that I even actually watched a single trailer for this show coming up.
I did not watch a trailer. I was totally I didn't even know what to expect in terms of lighting, cinematography, scope. I had zero clue. And I kind of, proud of myself for having it that way, but I wouldn't say I did it on purpose. I found trailers are pretty easy to avoid for this. I just didn't see them popping up on a lot of feeds that I was gazing at.
So there's 2 characters that are on the show that are from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 characters. Now it's not the same actors.
Yeah.
But who are the actors who played them previously?
Elrond was Hugo Weaving.
Uh-huh.
And Elrond is now Doogie Howser looking guy.
He does look like him.
And then, and we're going to talk more about that actor in a minute, but Galadriel was Cate Blanchett's character.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, the one
I didn't know that they were supposed to be the same person.
Yeah, they don't do an amazing job kind of letting you know that. Other than
it's
okay. It's an
Here's
okay
what I'll
job.
say is, if you're a fan, the name Elrond and Galadriel, you're going to know it might as well be Han Solo and Leia.
Yeah.
If you're a fan. But if you're not a fan, you don't really need to know, because you're just following this story and it doesn't have anything to do.
But at the same time, wouldn't it also just behoove them? And obviously, they can't make specific references because we're going cross-platform, as it were, WB versus Amazon and stuff. So you can't quite cross the streams. But it would certainly help, new viewers of this that may not be completely familiar. That's like, oh yes, by the way, these are the characters from the previous things that you remember. But I mean, obviously, there's only so much you can do, and so much they literally can and are allowed to do.
Yeah, I think they even had to legally release a statement that says this is not in the same universe as the Peter Jackson movies. It's kind of crazy the amount of control that goes on with Tolkien properties. I mean, unlike any other IP I've run across, to be honest.
It's weird because and then we get cool little teasers because you see Sauron and you're like, oh, okay, cool, and then nothing, and then it's just I don't know. It just seems.
Well, I mean, we're in the Second Age. They're talking about forging the Rings of Power, so Sauron is going to have to show up.
Right. I mean, you feel like he's got to.
Well, that's what the Rings of Power is all going to be about. And we know, if you are a person who's in line with the lore and the history on Lord of the Rings, and if you even just seen the movies and you've seen the prologue to the Fellowship of the Ring, you know that this has to go until Isildur cuts the ring off of Sauron's finger. So we've got, they've had to commit to 5 seasons to get the rights. So it's going to take us 5 seasons to get to Isildur doing that at the rate we're going now. So I think it's all mapped up pretty wisely from the showrunner side of things for a change with television. Streaming television, I just usually complain about how they don't have it mapped out properly because they never know if they're getting another season or not.
Well, I feel like with this one, they certainly had to have put their ducks in a row on account of how much money they're spending on this. Are you guys aware of the budget for this bad boy?
Yeah, it's $1 billion for the show.
Yeah.
Well, the contract was obligated to spend $1 billion over 5 years. I think this first season is more like $500 million, but they're counting the $250 million in obtaining the rights against that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking that it's only about 30 to 40 million per episode, but it looks
Oh, a
It looks
paltry.
better than that, though. I mean, I'm not 30 to 40 million is a lot of money, so maybe it's more than that. I mean, Amazon's publicly traded, so somewhere the honest answer has to be out there. But it looks.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how it looks because, we have to.
It looks amazing to me, and I'm the kind of guy who usually sort of ignores how stuff looks to a degree unless it looks just awful. But this is ridiculously cinematic. This is something that I think you'd love to see on a big screen. You know, at least be glad you got your 4K TV, you know, when you're watching this and watching it in UHDR or whatever. I think this is beautiful lighting, cinematography, sets, costumes. I mean, this thing to me is amazing. And I'm not even talking about anything that has to do with special effects.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's so beautiful to me to look at. That first episode to me was all just spectacle. Like I couldn't really follow the story and I didn't care. It was just like I felt comfortable and it was just beautiful images to look at. And then about the second episode, I started following the story a little bit.
And then you're just like, oh, they've been saying words this whole time. I should have been paying attention to that.
And this is the rare, well, I won't say rare, but a lot of stuff that I watch, I'm intimately familiar with the source material, but for this, the source material kind of only barely exists. So, you know, other than knowing that it's going to end with Isildur cutting the ring off of Sauron's finger, I don't know what else is going to happen here.
I don't know. To me, it does.
And that may not even happen. I'm like, this isn't a spoiler because that was what was at the beginning of the Peter Jack. I don't want, I'm thinking, boy, but we always talk spoilers, so screw them.
But that's the thing. That movie opens up, and you know what happens there. It's the first 15 minutes of Lord of the Rings talks exactly about that. So I don't feel like that's any kind of spoiler.
What do you think is the percentage of our listeners that are at least moderately familiar with Tolkien's work?
I'm gonna say of our listeners,
yeah,
I'm gonna say 85, easy, 85 plus.
That's about what I was thinking. What do you think, Sean, about that?
I would imagine so. Yeah. You know, it's the reason why I agreed to do this
with this crowd.
I think that I realize that I'm the odd man out here when it comes to Lord of the Rings stuff. Like, I think, have I talked to you guys about one of my favorite social experiments is to ask someone, what is one of the movies that you don't like that the rest of the world seems to like? Have I ever told you that before or asked you that question?
I don't recall it.
Not that I can think of.
And so, you know, it's just fascinating because when you ask somebody that question, they don't answer right away. So what you have to do is you have to give them your answer first. And then while you're giving your answer, they come up with it.
They're like, oh, that's the thing. Yeah.
And it's just a really good way to get to know somebody because people will get very animated very quickly when they're talking about a thing they don't like that everyone else seems to like. And you know, am I taking crazy pills? You know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Godfather 2 insists upon itself.
And so that is me with anything Lord of the Rings. Like I am not a fan. I never have been. I've said to you guys a million times before, I hate a dragon. I hate him. I hate him in this. I hate him in anything. This show specifically, we'll get into that later if you want to, but like, for me, the crazy pills thing is that the rest of the world seems to love Lord of the Rings, and I just don't care.
Everyone is absolutely allowed to like or dislike anything they want for no reason whatsoever.
Right, I know.
But you like a lot of stuff that it kind of surprises me how much you dislike.
That is true. There's a couple things that it does make you just kind of take pause and just go like, oh, that's curious.
I would argue that the difference in a rancor and a dragon is like not really much of anything, but
sir, one is a space creature that lurks around in pits. And the other one is a flying dumb thing.
He's winging.
It doesn't exist.
But pretty much anything big that can kill you can be called a dragon, because anything that's not real, you can call it a dragon, and there's no scientifically way.
I'm gonna give you 24 hours to take that statement back.
Here is, I mean, seriously,
I'm driving around the road and I'm seeing a
kind of
dragon. It turns out it's a Ford F-150.
It's a person who really enjoys fantasy. and also enjoys sci-fi and sees all the similarities. Like I called something magic or a magic system once in one of my videos on YouTube, and people said, this isn't magic. Would you call what the Jedi do magic? Would you call Jedi space wizards? And I was like, in fact,
Yes.
I called Jedi space
Yes, you call them that all the time. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, but that's not magic. And I was like, it's magic, man. Like all the science fiction stuff, dilithium crystals and antimatter propulsion jets, that's magic. They're just, using the smoke and mirrors to make it sound like science. It's all magic. Lightsabers, magic.
So
I'm really having
sorry.
my day
I've
ruined here with all of this magic talk.
I've completely forgotten what your first question was, Bruce.
Dragons. I'm surprised at how much you dislike.
No, before I got into my social experiment comment, I can't remember what that.
I think it was about what did you guys think about how it looks?
Oh, so here's the thing: is that with this show in particular, to me. So, that first episode is just, to me, it is a absolute snore fest and like, oh, look how grand we're being. And I'm speaking so verbosely and I keep waving my hand behind me to show you how wonderful everything is behind me. And it was the most boring thing in the world. And to the point where I was like, man, this is going to be a long 2 episodes. And we'll get into that in a minute. I will say this. There are certain scenes on the show where I'm like, well, you'd never seen that before. And it looks great. Like when they go into whatever the guys who break rocks fortress is called.
They're called dwarves.
Okay, so those are dwarves. I don't know because there's like 15 different, there's orcs and there's like elves and
those
there's like,
dwarves,
I don't know who's
and that's Kumar Doom. But
you can use whatever words you want. I'm never going to remember.
It was flibbity flabbity, and
Moria.
it.
Those are the minds of Moria from the Peter Jackson movies.
Fantastic. That's really great to know.
But
Thank you.
It is really like it is a nice little drop for people that are fans and stuff, because in that first movie we see the ruins of all of that, and Gimli just talk about like, man, this used to be the place, and now we get to see the place, which is fun.
Great. So those scenes in particular are pretty great. Like, I think those look great. There are other scenes in the first episode where they're like, like casts of millions behind them, and there's the depth of field just isn't there.
Really?
Yeah. To me, it wasn't. It looks fake. It looks incredibly fake, in fact, for some things. And then for other things, it's just like, wow, that's really impressive. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that they're using the best of the best on the show, and they should. They have the money and they have the time. They should absolutely do the best of the best for this thing. But it seemed like to me, it seemed like at times it was like, hey, why don't we try to hold back a little bit here? And that's what it felt like.
I will say that one thing that, like, since we're talking about things that kind of jump out, and I was like, wow, the snow troll stuff was really good. I love the way that looked, and I really specifically love the way that they animated the troll. And if you watch specifically, it is done in what I feel like Peter Jackson would probably kind of try to do, which is this almost, it kind of looks stop motion-y in a way. Like, they do it just enough, just the way that it moves, it makes it look like they're doing actual puppetry work when it's clearly CGI. It's great.
To me, it's more pleasing on the screen than the cartoon goblins from the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh yeah, it's way better than that. Way better than those looking. And again, there's so many.
And that's a shame, because I always considered myself more of a goblin man than a troll man. But you got to give the troll its due.
It looked really good. I like the way most of the fighting and stuff is shown. I like when we see Galadriel's brother kind of get killed and everything. I wish we would have seen more like that, because it felt very Peter Jackson-y. And I'm sorry, but here's the thing. I know that obviously, the two worlds never shall meet or whatever, but there's a visual language that we kind of have established here. And I know that it's going to be their job to kind of establish their own thing here. But
hold on a second, because I can feel that you're getting lost in your own words.
Mm-hmm.
So you were making a good point there for a second, and you kind of bailed on it, which is that Peter Jackson has already established a visual language.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're inferring here is that now Amazon has to create their own visual language, but learning from what Peter Jackson has already done. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Hopefully so, yes. And
I would if I could throw in my 2 cents, I would say they've got to come up with their own language, but it still needs to be familiar enough to the Jackson fans.
Exactly. You have to have that little spice in there that reminds us that this is Lord of the Rings.
Even with their legally obligated statement that this is in no way related to the Peter Jackson films, they know good and well that a solid chunk of the casual fans are watching this because they think that it's canon.
Of course.
Stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that they have to have the legal thing of like, this is not part of blah, 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 blah. They're dumb if they don't make it open-ended. You know what I mean? Like, but is it really wink, wink? I mean, come on.
And they've got this deal with the Tolkien estate that they can always go back and ask to use more and to do more. So it's kind of like if they do a good job, it's seriously, it's like you do a good job and maybe we will let you keep going and actually, try to improve upon what Jackson did with The Hobbit, for example.
What we're saying here is we would like more money later on. Can we?
I gotta say,
money later on. Is that cool?
I gotta say, one of the things that I really like about this show, because I don't want to just bag on it the whole time because there'll be plenty of time for that. One of the things that I really like about it is that they have cast actors that we have no idea who they are as an American audience,
which is nice.
There's only
great.
one actor that I absolutely recognize, and that's only because I'm kind of like a hyper fan on the show he was on for like one episode. So yeah, other than that, it totally is blank slate.
Which character is that?
It's Elrond.
Oh, okay.
Because Elrond played young Ned Stark in a flashback on Game of Thrones. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, he's got a pigeonholed in fantasy, I guess now. Yeah, he's played young Ned Stark, and now he plays young Elrond.
Oh, okay, very good.
Given the immortal, well, I mean, hair grows and gets cut or whatever. But given the immortal nature of elves, like he's not going to get any older. Like we're calling him young Elrond, but if we go forward 5,000 years, he's still going to look exactly like he does in this episode. So I keep thinking like, yeah, I got to picture him aging into being Hugo Weaving, but no, this is Elrond. This is the Elrond you guys got from him.
Well, now, okay, so how old is Galadriel at this point then? Because and
how old is Galadriel in the show?
Well, because
or how old is Galadriel in the source?
Well, she starts. Well, in the show, she starts as a child, and then because she's talking to
Elrond in the source material, she's older than Elrond. In the source material, Elrond marries her daughter, but in this show, Elrond appears to be older than her when they're children.
Yeah,
So how old are they? I don't know.
That's just
1,000 years old already.
Exactly.
I mean, they were around in the first age. And this is taking place in the second age, and the movies take place in the third age. So she's been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, if you figure she grows only so fast and stuff, and then you went from like what we'll call, I don't know, 11 to 22 or something in like our world kind of thing, but like that's got to be forever in elf time, yeah?
Man,
you're growing up from a little thing
likes
to
to
elf,
talk,
I don't know, it's ridiculous.
Nobody likes to talk about elf children.
I don't know
they
how
just don't. It's a mystery. Like people say, do they age as slowly from child to adulthood, but by their mortal nature? Some people say, well, they grow to their peak human like condition and then they stop aging. So like maybe they age even quicker than humans do. Like who knows, man? Who knows how elves age? It's a question that Tolkien didn't answer. And the last time I tried to catch a baby elf, I had wound up spending some time incarcerated. I'm not doing that anymore.
It happens. So let's talk about elves then, because here's one of my kind of major gripes, at least early on so far. I don't really like elves. I think elves are boring characters by and large. The emotionless kind of Vulcanness to their, lives and everything doesn't lend to me to great dramatic flair and everything. When we watch, The Lord of the Rings, we're going from the viewpoint majorly of the hobbits. We are the hobbits. Even though we are man and man exist in the Tolkien universe and everything, hobbits are, the small creatures. Yeah. That's how we're kind of supposed to see ourselves. We're not even supposed to see ourselves with man. We're below that even. And here,
no, we're not below that. Well, we're not below that. We're
I was thinking societally wise is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're not, because I think society wise, man is pretty low. When
Man's
Lord of
lower
the Rings
than
gets started.
Hobbit?
Oh yeah, when Lord of the Rings gets started, man is definitely in a worse place than the hobbits are.
That's
The
true.
hobbits actually have a nice functioning society. They're just more peaceful and more agrarian. And they don't have the military might, but they actually have a better, stronger society and economy and a higher population.
But they're more interesting. Hobbits are more interesting than because
I beg to differ, but please keep going.
Well, the reason why is because with elves you have the DC problem where it's like we're dealing with gods here at this point. What do I care? That's the problem that I have, is just like with like eternal beings and stuff like that, and the fact that they don't really show emotions too much and everything. It just doesn't drag me in,
In Tolkien's world, I mean, elves are divine beings that gave up their divinity but not their immortality. Like they chose to come to Middle Earth when they could have just stuck around in what I'll call Tolkien heaven. I don't know, Valinor. I don't know how much Valinor means to you guys, but they could have stuck around in Tolkien heaven, and they made the conscious decision to give up their divinity, but not their immortality.
Oh, it's like when you plan a vacation, but you accidentally do it to Detroit.
Oh man.
So I need to ask, because I can see that you guys are way more into this than me. And one of the things that I noticed watching the show is that they have moments of what I will call Lord of the Rings jokes in these shows.
Yeah.
And when you're watching a Marvel movie and there's people in the movie theater who are laughing at every single joke that happens in a Marvel movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when you guys were watching the show, did you laugh at all watching it?
I don't know if I laughed at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can definitely tell you that no laughter occurred during this program.
And I just want to kind of clarify, like, my relationship with this isn't that I'm loving it necessarily, but I'm just interested in it. I'm trying to think of the right perspective to put this in. Like, I do have a deep love for fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons. All of that gets its roots from what Tolkien did. And then honestly, like most things, when you build upon it, you actually do it a little bit better. That's the idea is, you take what the people who came before you did and you improve on it and you modernize it, and it speaks at so it's not, I'm not loving the show, but I know a lot of, I wouldn't say I know a lot. I know a fair bit about the lore just because of the historical significance. And I'm watching this show. Like, I don't know if a guy is, a biochemist who specializes in pheromones, and there's a new article in the Journal of Pheromones about a new pheromone. He's not like getting a laugh a minute reading that article, but he feels like he needs to read it and understand it.
We should take a moment to say that you just said the biochemist, and we have a biochemist on our.
That's exactly who I was trying to welcome to the family.
Nice.
I wish I had some sort of I don't know, I want to try to get to like any of these characters, but I'm just not there yet. You figure with Galadriel you'd be like all over that, because it's like, oh, where did this character come from? I don't know much backstory or anything, and whatever they're trying to fill me in on here, I feel like I'm okay with it. This actress is fine, but let's be honest, Cate Blanchett is like, there's something else special about that lady. And especially
she's very tall,
and in that role too, like she just, I don't know, she was just so unique and interesting, because obviously she's got a different look than most actresses in Hollywood and stuff like that. So just this actor, she's fine and everything, but she doesn't have that kind of like little it factor, I guess. Am I asking too much?
I think maybe you're asking too much. I think she's fine.
I don't think she's bad.
I think she fits in well, actually, in the role. Like, I'm rolling with her as Galadriel a lot easier than I'm rolling with Aramayo as Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Galadriel's role in the movies always seemed a lot smaller too. So I don't think I personally kind of fixated that image as much as I did Hugo Weaving as Elrond.
Yeah. I mean, and he's got bigger moments in that thing, other than
it's Hugo Weaving. It's like, if Cate Blanchett in the Matrix? I was about to say if she was in the Matrix, maybe I'd feel the way, but I'm pretty sure she was.
No.
It sounds like one of those things where I'd say it, and then you guys will both go, Bruce, we watched the Matrix and she was in 2 and 3 or something like
You
that.
didn't remember all of that? Uh,
That was a pretty good impression of us too.
pretty spot on. What do you, okay.
Why, I'm Sean, and I think you know that.
What, did you record that? I don't remember saying that.
That's on his board. He put that in as a drop, so you can use that at any time he wants to. Bruce, I figure you of all people have to be probably the most down with dwarves of anyone that I know. I don't know why I feel that. Is that?
I love the dwarves.
Of course,
the dwarves have been my favorite in the Peter Jackson movies, all 6 of them. I love the dwarves. The dwarves are great here. I mean, come on. If I were going to live in Middle Earth, the hobbits are a lot of fun. But I feel like the dwarves have the right amount of crankiness that I'd fit right in. Plus, I'm pretty good at growing facial hair.
I thought, yeah, you are. You grow that sucker fast, man. Like I could, if I didn't shave since I was like 13, I still wouldn't have the beard that you got in like what 3 weeks.
Yeah, but then I shaved it off.
It's unbelievable. I want to like this show so much, but there's problems with it because I find myself kind of bored at times where I'm really kind of. I'm pulling the Sean where I'm looking at stuff and trying to get the glory of it is what I'm saying, is looking at things as opposed to just them telling me great stories. I go, oh, well, at least this looks interesting to look at most of the time.
Well, for me, because I really did not like the first episode. To the point where, like I said to you guys earlier, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a very, very long time here. But something happened getting into the second episode. Because it got a lot less Lord of the Ringsy, and there's a lady in the water who is about to be eaten by a monster, and that part was pretty cool.
The sea dragon,
whatever, that part was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the aquatic sea dragon.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's the hammer fight in the Hobbit hole. That was cool too.
Now, can we talk about the hammer fight in the dwarf dwelling, not the Hobbit hole? There are no Hobbit holes. Hobbits are still nomadic. They have not taken to living under the ground because this is thousands of years before we go to the Shire.
I love their whole setup there, like the reveal of them in that area and getting all their stuff out. That was just a really nice.
And they're not even hobbits. They identify as Harfoots at this time. Now, in Bilbo and Frodo's time, Harfoots are one type of hobbit.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it looks like the Harfoots are all that there are. And if you kind of understand, I don't know, man. I don't want to overstate because I might be wrong with the lore, but I think with the lore, there's creation stories for dwarves, elves, and men, but hobbits just kind of like popped up spontaneously.
We just showed up.
Did. Yeah, seriously. They're like like rabbits and deer and hobbits all just kind of popped up. But I could be wrong on that, so I don't want to overstate it as if I'm certain. But
the Tolkien estate is like crafting an email at this very moment.
Now, you guys, particularly Sean, did you grasp that there's at least 3 continents in play here?
No, God, no.
Okay, so Middle Earth is one continent.
Oh, but you don't need to describe it to me.
I just want to
just go on.
I want to explain a little bit about the condition of man in Middle Earth.
Okay.
Middle Earth is not the only continent where man lives, which we'll find out as we go deeper into the series, I'm sure.
Let me get a pillow. Hold on.
Okay, but Middle Earth is where the humans who sided with Morgoth live.
Now, which one's Morgoth again?
I already stopped listening, but keep going.
Morgoth is Sauron's master. So Morgoth was the initial Dark One that fought against the elves and everything for control of Middle Earth. He destroyed the trees, those beautiful trees that got destroyed. You remember that part in the beginning of episode 1?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, Morgoth destroyed the beautiful trees of light, the same trees from which the Silmarillions were made. When the trees were destroyed, they let out 2 big fruit. One became the sun, one became the moon. Anyway, so Morgoth destroyed the trees, and there was a big war between the elves and some men against Morgoth and some men. So the men who fought with Morgoth, once he was defeated, they were left on Middle Earth to kind of be watched almost not quite as war criminals, but their lot in life is not that great. Then there is an island a continent called Numenor that was given to the elves who fought, or to the humans who fought with the elves and on behalf of the folks in Valinor. So
Man, now I know what it's like when I'm trying to describe comic book stuff to like
or
people who
Star
aren't
Wars.
into
Sean,
comic book
usually
or
you're
Star Wars.
describing Star Wars.
You're
to me.
right. You're right. Or Star
Wait,
Wars. Both
hold on.
Now
Like,
I
all you
get
had to
it.
do was read that novel that was a tie into that video game.
You're absolutely right.
Let me just get Sean on track. That's like Palpatine, see?
So that's why the humans on Middle Earth are always kind of in a low place, because they're sort of being punished for something that they did 1,000 years ago. And they're continually kind of punished and held down. And then that's kind of the principle of Lord of the Rings, is they redeem themselves and then they got a chance to take over the world as the elves leave.
And that's what I liked about the other one. Like when you think about the first Lord of the Rings, there was a time when elf and man stood side by side and battled, blah 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 blah. And so we're gonna see that, I would imagine. Yeah.
Are either of you guys familiar with the conditions in Germany between World War I and World War II?
It's probably not great.
Yeah, Sean, are you familiar with
a little bit?
Like it was tough. They were under so many sanctions. The economy was screwed. That's why Hitler rose to power. All that.
Yeah.
But I always got the idea that the humans on Middle Earth during the Second and Third Age are kind of like the Germans, who really didn't have anything to do with World War I because they weren't the Kaiser, but they're still paying the price for it. And that's always kind of how I felt, because a lot of people try to look for World War I analogs because of Tolkien's experience.
I was about to say, yeah,
but he does deny, he denies that that's the inspiration, but you can deny all you want. We all now know that authorial intent has nothing to do with interpretation anymore.
Right.
Music wise, I feel like we're trying to live in the shadow of Howard Shore, and it's
Bear McCreary, I think, does.
It's okay.
I do have to say, Adam, I think that you're way out of line on this one. I think that the music is really good.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's great.
I've always thought Bear McCreary's somebody that's like cool.
Yeah, me too. I've always liked his work. I've always liked his work.
This was like a level that I didn't know he had in him. Like, has he done this kind of like epic scope sort of thing?
I don't believe so. I mean, let's look him up. We've got
AMC.
the computers in front of us. I'll check it out.
I could be wrong, but I just think of him as doing stuff for AMC, and this is like amazing to me. Not that the stuff he did there wasn't good, but the stuff on AMC, you're not going to have this kind of music.
Yeah.
And Better Call Saul. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
They don't have 21-piece orchestral things for Better Call Saul.
They have banjos for some reason.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't too wild about. But I will say this: there are moments where the audio mixing and stuff for this, woo, beautiful. I will say that they've definitely put some money behind that, and it sounds really good. So I definitely applaud
intro,
them on that.
like, did they spend so much money on this show that all they had left for the intro was like put some stand on a speaker and play the music? Because that's kind of what that intro looks like. Is the like sand or iron filings bouncing around on a speaker?
Yeah, does that remind you of anything? That opening, even the lady I cohabitate with was like, "This is exactly the same as the."
Yeah, it's Game of Thrones all day long. You look at it and you're just like, okay, there's zero doubts where this inspiration has come from here. But at the same time, too, can you blame them? Can you blame them for wanting to be like, well, we need to be a little bit like that thing that was very successful?
I think we need a Game of Thrones that you can watch with your kids, and that's what this is.
You're not wrong.
House of the Dragon is not that, and we'll talk about that next week. But this is one like the Game of Thrones you watch at 11 o'clock after you put the kids to bed. You're in your room with your significant other or whatever, and you watch Game of Thrones and you go to bed and you dream about it. But this is one the kids can come in and sit down with you and watch it and laugh, run in and out of the room or whatever. And it's good for that. And I think that's why I kind of believe Amazon says that the viewership on this was 25 million globally, which is about doubling up what House of the Dragon's getting. And I would almost believe it because there are countries that are just not going to show Game of Thrones at all because they have really, really strict censorship rules that'll show this. And then also kids can watch this and old people can watch this. And I kind of believe those numbers. And I think it's good that you got like the family friendly Game of Thrones out there. So if you want to give me just a little taste of the thing I really want to be watching while I'm watching this, I don't mind.
It's like, yeah, you pregame your evening with with Rings of Power, and then you finish the evening as the kids go to bed with a little bit of House of the Dragon. It kind of makes sense. What do you think about the elf guy going across? It's just so creepy when he goes up to the cow and milks it, and then all the black stuff comes out. It's just like, oh my Lord, I don't know why. I just wanted to jump out of my skin when that happened. I'm like, no, please. Oh,
yeah, I think that's just there is like real big shorthand that something evil is afoot. I don't make much more out of that than that.
Yeah, it's like, well, where did this cow graze? Yeah, I think that'd be the first question you ask. Well, like, hey, where's this cow eating that it's giving out black milk and looking?
Are we going to talk about the naked guy from space?
Yeah, the half old yet young looking Harrison Ford giant who falls out of the sky not wearing no clothes and apparently breathes in fire, I guess, or something. How did that all work?
You have any idea, Sean? Like, you have any speculation on where? Why am I asking you, Sean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any speculation on where this character's going or what this character is or what?
I have no idea.
Do you think? Okay, well, let me ask, because I made a little bit of a fun jab, but jab nevertheless, and I think it's kind of true. Do we feel like we've got like a Sam and Frodo here, just gender swapped for our hobbits? Does that?
Oh yeah, man!
Because this
totally
girl kind of looks like, because she looks like a young Elijah Wood, for heaven's sake.
I think she's cast perfectly, though. I think like if I closed my eyes and said, I wonder what a primitive female hobbit looks like, I'd probably picture her. I love the person playing Nori.
Yeah.
The other ones, whatever. They're not any better or worse than what we got in the movies, but I really like Nori. I think I prefer as a hobbit over Elijah Wood. Maybe not over the guy that played Rudy, but Sean Astin. Sean Astin's probably always going to be my favorite hobbit, but she'll be my number 2 now.
Well, listen, you're gonna have a hard time trying to get a better hobbit in this world than Samwise. It's pretty tough to do. I don't care how nice this other character is. That's a tough hill to climb. Trying to get up to that guy.
So, Adam, what are your thoughts on this old guy? Do you think that like Skynet just sent Terminator way too far back in time?
That would be amazing if all of a sudden this just turned into a Terminator and like he pops down and, and then I don't know, like maybe we're due for some sort of wizard or something.
Well, Sean, you're going to love this. You want to hear about the history of wizards?
No.
I don't. Back in 1972, wizards were invented.
Hold on. Let me get the king size bed in here.
So you're on track with what most people I would believe are thinking, and that's that this is Gandalf. That this is when Gandalf fell to Earth. But the wizards are not humans who learn to be wizards. The wizards are Ishtari. They're this other species of beings, of divine beings that live in Valinor.
Hold on, Sean. Ishtar was a movie.
I know Ishtar.
They're Ishtar.
No, I know. The first 20 minutes of that movie is actually funny, by the way.
It's not as bad as everyone says.
I know. It's not even close.
But anyway, they get sent to Earth to help lead and guide and deal with the battle against Sauron. And I always kind of thought for the most part they fell to Earth in the Third Age, but there were 2 blue wizards that came to Earth during the Second Age. So this might be one of the blue wizards. And
my God!
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me give you a more entertaining.
I
version
hope no
of
one's
this for
driving.
Let me give you a more entertaining version of what Bruce is doing right now, because this is something that I discovered on TikTok. There is a young African American man who is he'd never seen Star Wars before, so people got him to watch the Star Wars. He liked Star Wars, and the next thing on his list was Lord of the Rings. And he goes through Lord of the Rings. This guy had never seen it before, got so passionate about it. And then there's another guy, another African-American guy who comes in and just goes, he answers all of the questions that the other guy had in his video, going like, here's all of this thing and that thing. It is one of the most glorious things you'll ever see of people, just like one guy seeing Lord of the Rings for the first time and another guy who's clearly like the book. He loves the books and the movies and everything, going at it. There's just a group of people that like whoever, this is going to be somebody's thing. 100%.
Well, there are 5 Ishtari who got sent to Middle Earth, and they're color coded because Gandalf is the gray.
They mention those, and he mentions in those videos, and that's why what brought that up for me was the colors of all those guys. Yeah,
Saruman is the white, Radagast is the brown, and there's 2 unnamed blue wizards that came in the Second Age that aren't discussed at all. The appendix simply says they came and went to the east, and that's it.
There you go.
And have you guys noticed my character design for Chubby Wizard back when
Yeah.
I was really into that?
Oh yeah,
Do you notice what color he was?
he's blue and there's a little purple in there.
Yeah, I kind of, in my mind, was like, nobody knows about these blue wizards. We know nothing about them. So I'm going to decide that the Chubby Wizard is one of those blue wizards, and he just kind of went off and started reading comic books and didn't get involved in the war. And then when I wrote the Chubby Wizard book, there's 2 blue wizards. So I thought, well, we're going to have 2 wizards in this book, but then I didn't want them both to be blue. So I made it the blue wizard and the yellow wizard. And then I kind of based the yellow wizard on a guy that used to be on our show that we called Handsome Boy. So then I had a little bit of fun with those 2, with the kind of chubby, bumbling blue wizard who's actually outskills the very handsome but arrogant yellow wizard. But anyway, this has had a deep impact on me.
Why didn't Amazon, try
man,
that? They could
I would
option
have
it for
given it to
nothing.
him for $250. They could have saved $249 million and some odd dollars, man. Like, I would have done it for just for the joy of saying I did that.
Oh, Bezos, you could have been so much more richer.
Now watch, I'm going to get a cease and desist from the Tolkien estate. But anyway,
Cut it out.
that was just, I'm just saying that the idea of Gandalf and the Ishtari are kind of important to me. And that's why, I kind of took to heart, nobody knows anything about those blue wizards. And I chose one to kind of be my little mascot and to write stories about him. Though they're absolutely not in the Lord of the Rings universe, and it's not infringing on anyone's IP.
Hey,
But anyway, so that's where we stand. So I think this might be one of the blue wizards. Some people say Radagast, I think, came to Earth first. So maybe this is Radagast the Brown. But I honestly think it's going to be Gandalf. I think they're not beholden to the fact that Gandalf supposedly came in the Third Age. I think it's going to be Gandalf. Mm-hmm. And some people think this might actually be Sauron, which, by the way, different. Up your nose, Tolkien and Martin, for picking up on that habit of giving people the same damn name.
They're all the same people. Who cares? Oh, look at this.
Bale's here.
Our buddy Noah sends us in a little email here. Good day to all those big, hairy foot, dirty babies. Hey guys, I was super excited when they announced the Rings of Power, as I am a huge fan of the Peter Jackson movies. I'll watch those at least twice a year just because they deserve as much. Also, if you've never listened to the audiobooks, do yourselves a favor. Back to the Rings of Power series. I sat down to watch this with the wife, who also loves the movies. For the first shows, I think they were pretty good. A little slower out of the gate than I would have liked, but I think they're really trying to give us some good background on a new group of characters. Of the new group, we have Galadriel, Eredor, and Nori. Of the 2 elves in Harfoot, of those 3 storylines, Nori has me wanting more. I'm just not into the whole boring, no emotion elves and what's going on with them. Agreed. But as far as Marcella Kavanaugh as Eleanor, Nori, Brandyfoot, and her story. I actually can't wait to get some more of that. Could be her accent, which I love, the fact that she's the only one of the main 3 that is likable. That's kind of true. Anyways, after the first 2 episodes, I can't wait to see more. I'm not sure what the hate for this show is getting, but maybe it may not be the Peter Jackson epic movies, but it's better than most of the shows out right now. Your friend and fellow dirty baby, Noah from the Dark Woods, one of the hosts of the How We Sees It podcast. That's with 3 E's and a Z.
Oh man, I'm coughing here. Let me use my cough button and you keep going.
Well, that was it. That was from Noah. Thanks for the email, Noah. Wrap up the mailbag.
So
oh shucks, too many buttons. My bad. You started talking. Go ahead.
Are people hating on this?
There are, and here's some of it valid, some of it not. I will say some of the things are right in as much as there aren't a lot of characters, especially male characters, that aren't pieces of garbage in this thing, because they're pretty much all at least kind of bad.
Well, but we're only 2 episodes in too. Because
very true.
I know just from looking at the casting, I know that we've got some people on Numenor, Isildur and his father, and they're going to be some male characters that are pretty heroic.
Okay, I mean, and that's good. I hope we can see that, because
Elrond's story arc is going to be pretty heroic too. He's going to be kind of tricked into doing the work of the Emperor. It's going to have a very Star Wars prequel feel to it in that regard, where they're making these rings of power and they don't realize who they're making them for, the evil that they're doing. So it's going to be kind of like the reveal, like, ha ha ha, I'm working for the dark side all along.
You made this for who? Oh, my Lord. I should have asked before we figured all that out. All right. Well, let's get down to it, boys and girls. We had to find out how this television show relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Well, I thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. Hi, Mr. Stallone. Sweet Chauncey here. I'm sure you're going through a bunch right now, what with the divorce and all, but hopefully you're able to get your mind off the awfulness and focus on other things. I tried to do so during my divorce with mixed results. But you know what movie I think about all the time? Like a lot, way more than I should. It's Team America World Police.
Yeah.
A comedy action movie that stars marionettes, the creepiest of all puppets. I don't know what the pitch meeting looked like when Matt Stone and Trey Parker pitched their movie idea to the studio execs at Paramount, but it must have been an absolute banger of a speech. We want you to give us $50 million to make an R-rated puppet movie. There's going to be an explicit puppet sex scene. The theme song is going to have the F word in it no less than 50 times. Matt Damon is going to be a character in the movie, only he's not actually in the movie. Instead, Trey is going to do his voice and make him sound like someone with severe cognitive learning disabilities. Oh, and the bad guy is going to be Kim Jong-il, who is someone who is historically known for his bad sense of humor about himself. And then the studio heads looked at each other for a moment, and one of them finally said, you know what? That idea slaps. When do you start? Now, don't get me wrong. I love Team America World Police, and I find myself at least once a week singing to myself the song Everyone Has AIDS, which, if you haven't seen it, is exactly how it sounds. But my question is, how exactly did these guys pitch this movie? Now, everybody involved with the making of Team America has since said that it's the hardest project they've ever worked on. The film went on to become a huge success, and when approached to make a sequel, both Trey Parker and Matt Stone said, and I'm quoting here, "There's no way we'll ever work with puppets ever again." But one of the people who had the hardest job on the movie was Ramsey Avery. He was the supervising art director. And every time Matt and Trey would have an idea like, what if the streets of Paris were paved with croissants? And when Team America is in Panama, what if all the plants are marijuana plants? Now, Mr. Stallone, you got to think about it like this. You're working on a puppet movie with people who have never worked with puppets before. You got a job you've never done and you've never trained for, because besides the Muppets, who has needed puppet-sized movie sets for the last 30 years? Everybody has questions. They're looking at Ramsey Avery. Do you think he has answers? Puppet answers? Probably not. And that's why he has the hardest job on Team America. If you had, it had to have felt like vacation being on other jobs after that one, working as one of the production designers on Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Rings. And when he was the supervising art director on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which also starred you, Mr. Stallone, I'm sure it was smooth sailing. Ramsey Avery also worked on A Different World, but that is for another episode and another time. Your pal, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
Well,
so I got a question for you, Sean.
Yeah.
It's the holidays, and you're going to your significant other's grandma's house. You go into the guest room to put your stuff away. It's time for bed. You look over on the shelf. Which would you rather see, marionettes or ventriloquist dummies?
Ooh.
Oh, I would much rather see ventriloquist dummies.
Oh, not me. I'd go marionettes over ventriloquist dummies.
Oh, really?
Oh, man. I've saw that movie Magic too many times.
I would be sleeping in the bathtub or putting the puppets in the bathtub, because I know, no sirree, Bob. You get them out of there.
Who put my puppets in the tub?
You turn on the shower in the morning and the puppets get all wet.
I love it.
They're pissed off at you because you've soaked these great puppets that have like gone through. Oh my gosh. Anyways, what do you guys? So I can imagine, Sean, where you stand on this. So we'll let you go first. What were your kind of thoughts on this? And like, I could imagine you may not want to
Well, I mean,
more.
I tried to keep my mouth shut as much as I could on this episode because I just I don't care and I don't have much at stake in this thing. And it's not that I hate it. I don't hate it. It's just not me. It's not for me at all. And so, I was kind of surprised that the second episode kept my interest a bit, just because things were actually happening in it, and it wasn't just people walking around like all Lord of the Rings movies are.
Fair.
And so I was like, you know what, this is going to be just fine. I'm never going to watch the rest of it, but like I'm glad that it's there for people who really like it because they deserve it. It's like being a fan pays off, and that's such a good feeling. And enjoy it. Like, it's not exactly what you want probably, but learn from Star Wars fandom. Just shut up and enjoy.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's just like, but at the same time too, you also have some of this that like Star Wars has to kind of keep in mind as well when they do those things. So, like, the reason that we like The Mandalorian is because A, it's new, but B, it's also very familiar to what we know.
Right.
There's enough of that Star Wars in there, but there's also enough new to make you excited and just on the edge of your seat going like, where are we going with this? And I hope that this show can capture some of that, even though that, like you said, with prequels and stuff, you have a particular direction that you're going to go, and like you have this end point, and more or less that's going to be what it is. So hopefully they've spent enough money on this. Lord knows they've got the resources, and it's theirs to fail at this point.
I mean, this is the best version of this you're ever going to get ever. Like, honestly, there isn't going to be a better version coming. This is the best of the best of the best, and enjoy it. And if you don't like it, then just don't watch it like we do with other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, like, and watching some of this really did make me want to go back and just watch the original trilogy again and stuff. And so, like, those aren't going away. I still got those.
They're still there.
It's in 4K Blu-ray. It looks fantastic, and that's what I'm going to continue to go on. Even though, but Bruce, what do you think? Are you going to be on a week to week with this thing? Do you think you want to wait?
Will. I'll probably go week to week on it. It just depends on the week. Like it's sometimes hard for me to watch 2 1-hour shows every week. Because we got 30 questions thing coming up. I'm watching House of the Dragon, but I will watch it. I'll watch it whenever I get the chance. Not loving it, but liking it. And it's the most expensive show in the history of television, so everybody ought to at least gawk at it. Like, check it out for a few minutes, if nothing else, just to gawk at what $1 billion worth of TV looks like.
I think if nothing else, it's certainly that, and we'll go down of like, let's see. Either like, wow, what a great investment and how much they did and blah, 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 or what a waste of money this all was. Why did you kids
I'm worried it's going to have the absolute most boring outcome for the most expensive show ever, and that is it's mildly profitable. That is the most boring of pop, because I was really looking forward, and you were too, Sean. We talked about this, like, we were really going to enjoy the beautiful disaster of the world's most expensive show being an absolute mess, but this is not an absolute mess, so I can't.
It's not there, because that's what I certainly thought of the first Lord of the Rings movie before it came out. I was like, they shot all 3 of these. It took so long to do it. I'm like, what if the first one just sucks? What if it's absolutely terrible? Like, what a waste that would be. And I thought, like, there's a chance that could happen to this thing, to where it was just, but where it's not a complete and utter disaster. Now
they are contractually obligated to go 5 seasons, but I would like the idea that the show fails, so they keep putting less and less money, and in its 5th season, it's the least expensive show in there.
It just looks like Be Kind Rewind.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
This whole last season's put together with duct tape and cardboard.
The whole 5th season of Rings is just sweet.
Yes.
I'm all about it, man. I want that to happen.
It's all like they got no money, so it's all people in a room talking about what's going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, I can't believe they just fought that dragon. Yowza.
Unbelievable. Spared no expense. That'll do it for this episode of Hero Movie Podcast. We're going to talk about what we're going to do next week in just a second here. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd love for people to check out my YouTube channel. There's all kinds of cool stuff there. And I'm watching My Hero Academia, which is a nice little crossover property for the comic book fans. And, there's other good stuff there too. So it's youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie.
And he's planning a future anime dad rap video from Word on the Street.
Yeah.
Our Patreon people know what we're talking about. Sean, what else?
We have the new 30 Questions show that's going to be in the Star Wars feed. It's Andor 30 Questions. And is that next week? No. Yes, it is next week.
If it's not next week, it's a week after that. Yeah, I think it's close. But so Andor's coming out, and we're gonna. I didn't watch the trailer for D23 because I didn't. I'm like, I
didn't either.
We're
buddy.
way too close. Why do you need to do that? But I'm excited. Star Wars is like even like crappy Star Wars is like kind of okay.
No,
Not like
I don't want
bad.
any more crappy Star Wars.
I don't want. No, don't give me a Book of Boba Fett. Give me another Mando, please. But we'll see.
I mean, just hearing that, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot.
It's
wait.
like you are back in the saddle, raring to go. I am so excited for that.
Oh my god! And then there's that camera shot where they're jumping out of the drop ship.
Yes.
And they're all firing off their jetpack.
All the Mandalorians going around. You're like, dude, we are.
Oh my god,
so excited!
And we get that next season.
So it's gonna be happening. So check all that
out.
Join us next week when we're leaning more into our fantasy month here and everything, where we're going to be talking about the first couple episodes of Game of Thrones: House of the Dragon.
It's gonna be great, and I can't wait. I really can't wait to talk about it. And hopefully no 13-year-olds get married. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I can't wait to hear what Sean has to say about the show that will have more dragons on it than any other show in the history, except for that How to Train Your Dragon show.
The man spits upon dragons, but yet here we are for the Game of Thrones House of Dragons. In the flipping title, no less. So join us next week for the full carnage that is surely to come. For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm an Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty.
In the middle of the earth, in the land of Shire, lives a brave little hobbit whom we all admire. With his long wooden pipe, fuzzy woolly toes, he lives in a hobbit hole and everybody knows him. Bilbo Baggins, he's only 3 feet tall. Bilbo Baggins, the bravest little hobbit of them all. Hobbits are peace-loving folks, you know. They're never in a hurry and they take things slow. They don't like to travel away from home. They just like to eat and be left alone. But one day Bilbo was asked to go on a big adventure to the caves below to help some dwarves get back their gold that was stolen by a dragon in the days of old. Bilbo Baggins is only 3 feet tall. Bilbo Baggins, the bravest little hobbit of them all. Well, he fought with the goblins. He battled a troll. He riddled with Gollum. A magic ring he stole. He was chased by wolves, lost in the forest, escaped in a barrel from the Elf King's halls. Bilbo Baggins, the bravest little hobbit of them all. Now he's back in his home in the land of Shire, that brave little hobbit whom we all admire, just sitting on a treasure of silver and gold, puffing on his pipe in his hobbit hole. Bilbo Baggins, he's only 3 feet tall.